Here's something really interesting to think about. This Sunday, more than 115 million people will sit down in front of their TVs to watch the Super Bowl. Living rooms will turn into mini stadiums, friends will gather, snacks will be everywhere, and every big play will cause someone to jump off the couch screaming. For millions of fans, it's one of the biggest days of the entire year. But at the exact same time, there's another huge group of people who genuinely don't care about the Super Bowl at all, not even a little bit. And I'm not talking about people pretending they don't care just to be different. I'm talking about people who see all the hype and feel absolutely nothing. For them, the excitement around the game feels about as important as watching something like competitive butter sculpting. Interesting to some people, but not to them. And that raises a question. Why do some people absolutely love the Super Bowl while others feel completely disconnected from it? A lot of people assume that loving sports is just part of being human, but that's actually not true. Nobody is born caring about touchdowns or field goals. A baby doesn't come into the world already cheering for a football team. That passion develops over time, and it usually comes from the environment someone grows up in. If your family watched sports every weekend, chances are you picked it up too. If your friends talked about football at school, you probably started following it just so you could be part of the conversation. Over time, the game becomes more than just a game. It becomes part of your routine and your identity. But if someone grows up in a different environment where sports were never a big deal, the Super Bowl might just look like another TV program to them. There's also something fascinating happening inside the brain when people watch their favorite team play. Psychologists have studied this for years. When your team wins, your brain releases a small burst of dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical linked to pleasure and reward. In simple terms, your brain gives you a little reward for something good happening, even though you didn't actually play in the game. Your brain still reacts as if you were part of the victory. Scientists call this basking in reflected glory. Basically, people feel proud when the team they support succeeds. It's like the victory reflects back onto them. That's why you hear fans say things like, "We won," even though they were just watching the game from their couch. For someone who doesn't care about football, watching this reaction can be a little confusing. They might see a room full of people celebrating and wonder, why is everyone so emotional about something they didn't even participate in? Another reason people react differently to the Super Bowl comes down to something psychologists call stimulation levels. Some people naturally enjoy loud, exciting environments. They like crowds, big events, and emotional moments. The tension of a close game gives them a rush of energy. But other people are wired in the opposite way. Their brains prefer calmer, quieter experiences. Too much noise, too much excitement, and too many emotional ups and downs can actually feel overwhelming. So, for one person, a Super Bowl party feels exciting and fun. For another person, it might feel exhausting after just 20 minutes. Neither reaction is wrong. People simply experience stimulation differently. Then there's the powerful role of tribes and groups in human behavior. Humans have always survived by forming groups. Thousands of years ago, belonging to a tribe meant safety and survival. Even though modern life is very different, that instinct is still inside us. Sports tap directly into it. When people support a team, they feel like they belong to something bigger. Fans wear the same colors, chant the same slogans, and celebrate the same victories. The feeling of our team versus their team is actually very powerful psychologically. But not everyone feels that connection through sports. Some people find their sense of belonging somewhere else. Maybe it's through gaming communities, music scenes, online forums, or creative hobbies. Their tribe simply looks different. There's another interesting psychological idea called locus of control. This idea is about how people think about influence and control in their lives. Some people are comfortable getting emotionally invested in things they can't control. Watching sports fits perfectly into that mindset. The fun comes from the excitement, even though the outcome is completely out of their hands. But other people prefer activities where their effort directly affects the result. They enjoy projects, learning skills, building things, or solving problems. When they watch a football game, they might think, nothing I do changes the outcome. Yelling at the TV doesn't help the quarterback throw better. Wearing lucky socks doesn't change the score. For people with that mindset, watching sports can feel strange or even pointless. Modern life also plays a role in all of this. Think about how much information and stimulation we deal with every day. Notifications, messages, social media, work emails, breaking news, financial stress. Our brains are constantly processing something. For some people, the Super Bowl just feels like one more thing competing for their attention. Instead of feeling excited, they might feel drained by the idea of sitting through a 3-hour event filled with noise, ads, and constant commentary. For someone who already feels overwhelmed, the quiet of a normal evening can be much more appealing. Then there's the issue of uncertainty. Sports are unpredictable by design. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. A team can be winning one minute and losing the next. For many fans, that unpredictability is the best part. The suspense keeps them on the edge of their seat. But not everyone enjoys uncertainty. Some people feel stressed when outcomes are unpredictable. Instead of excitement, they feel tension. Imagine sitting through 3 hours of suspense when the result doesn't even affect your life. For some people, that just feels like unnecessary stress. It's similar to horror movies. Some people love the thrill and suspense. Others hate the feeling and avoid those movies completely. Different brains simply react differently. The Super Bowl also isn't just a football game anymore. It's become a huge cultural event. The commercials are famous, the halftime show features massive performers, restaurants plan special menus, entire parties are built around the event. For fans, this makes the experience even more exciting. But for someone who doesn't care about football, all that hype can actually make the disconnect feel stronger. They might look around the room and see everyone deeply invested in something they just don't understand. They might try to join the conversation, laugh at the commercials, or comment on the game, but inside, they still feel like they're watching something random. Sometimes that feeling can even be a little lonely. Imagine being in a room where everyone is cheering and reacting to every play, and you're the only person who doesn't feel the excitement. It can make someone feel like they're missing something important. But the truth is, they're not missing anything. Their interests are simply different. And honestly, sometimes the explanation is much simpler than psychology. Sometimes people just don't like football. Just like some people dislike certain foods, certain music, or certain movies. Human beings have different tastes, and that's completely normal. Someone who doesn't care about the Super Bowl might be deeply passionate about something else. Maybe they love art, travel, technology, science, or racing. Their excitement just shows up in a different place. What's really interesting is how strongly some fans react when someone says they don't care about the Super Bowl. Sometimes the reaction is surprisingly defensive. It's almost like rejecting the game feels like rejecting the culture around it. That's because sports often become part of identity. For many people, supporting a team connects them to their city, their friends, and their memories. So when someone says they're not interested, it can feel personal, even though it really isn't. At the end of the day, the world works because people enjoy different things. Some people will always love the excitement of sports, the tension of a close game, and the shared experience of cheering with friends. Others will happily spend that same time reading, watching movies, playing games, or doing something completely different. And that's perfectly okay. Because while millions of fans are celebrating every touchdown, millions of others are quietly enjoying their evening in their own way. And somehow, both groups coexist just fine.